This episode of the Local Hustlers podcast is brought to you by Flamingo Pools, your go-to maintenance and repair company in the East Valley. Stop wasting your valuable time trying to take care of your pool and let the professionals at Flamingo Pools take care of it for you. Visit azflamingopools.com for a free quote today.
You're listening to the Local Hustlers Podcast, East Valley Locals. Get connected with small businesses near you and dive deep into their stories, mindset, and motives. Entrepreneurs everywhere. Get ready to be inspired by business owners, entrepreneurs, and hustlers that you can relate to and learn from. And now, your hosts, Dallin Huso and Ridge Waldberg.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Local Hustlers podcast, where we are excited today to have Andy Cooper and his business partner, Jenna Foote from Value Nation Real Estate. It's a pleasure having you guys on today. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
This is awesome.
Yeah, we're excited.
Why don't both of you take a couple of minutes each and give us a little background story before we talk about, how you guys came together and got this all started up.
Okay, I'll start. I don't know how far you want me to go back, but back to the radio days.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
So I guess, we're a real estate company, so I guess I should start with a real estate background. My mom was a realtor.
Okay.
And so as early as, when I was in college, there's a couple of things I was doing in college. I was a DJ at KNIX. I did the 7 to Midnight show for a few years there. I was going to ASU, and KNIX was right across the river from ASU, so I could just kind of run back and forth throughout the day. It was great. And then, but also she was a realtor, and so I got into helping her, and and she was investing in single family, mostly a little bit of multifamily, like fourplexes and stuff like that. And so she would let me get in on some of the investments every once in a while. So I started kind of investing in real estate in, when I was around 20.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where the whole, real estate thing started. And I continued to do radio, and then, and ended up quitting radio to go on a mission for my church. Went down to Brazil for a couple of years. And then when I came back, did a little bit more on radio, was at Mix 96.9 for a while. And then decided, I'm going to do real estate full time. And I got into commercial real estate. And so commercial real estate I did for about 10 years, where it was mostly representing tenants and landlords, restaurants, retailers, stuff like that. And doing some pretty big commercial real estate deals. And that, I guess, we could kind of save the segue for how we got into Value Nation. Okay. But that's kind of what leads up to where we are now.
Okay.
Sweet.
And then you, Jenna?
So, my connection to real estate is that I just love homes. I love real estate. I've been looking at homes and properties for, probably since my teenage years. I helped my parents sell one of our homes, and, did a lot of the marketing for that, which at the time I thought was like slavery, but honestly, when you're like 16 and your mom's like, make something for me. So anyways, that was kind of like my step into that. And then when my husband and I finished our undergrads in 2009, we were in the market for a new home, and we kind of got familiar with the process of buying and how that works, and it was just really exciting to me. So I'd often find myself on like Zillow or Realtor.com, just kind of like looking to see what's out there and deciding what I liked about certain properties and how they were being marketed and what I didn't like. And it was like an automatic turn off. And basically, my husband and I have purchased 3 homes, and I bought all 3 of them. Like, he just was like, cool. But I was the one that picked it, and I started to get really familiar with the process and what you want in a home and what you don't. And anyway, so I got into social media marketing probably about 10 years ago, and I'd been working on building my own brand, but I got into branding other people's branding, other companies, and so I did branding for millennial choirs and orchestras for a little while, and was doing my own stuff. And then we moved into our current neighborhood where Andy and his family live, and we got to talking, and he was like, can you come and work for me? And I was like, I don't know. What do you want me to do? And he's like, everything. And I was like, oh, what? But anyway, so I kind of joined.
She's that talented where it's like, you really do. It's like sometimes when you're hiring, it's like you can, there's I think the saying is something like you hire for the personality and then you train for the skills, right?
Exactly,
and so Jenna's one of those types of people. It's like, well, I don't care what you're going to do for us. Just come to work for us, and we're going to put you to work, and it's going to be amazing because of who you are. You know?
Yeah, and I was really grateful he had the faith in me, and also at the same time we were settling one home in the neighborhood to move just down the street to a bigger home. And that's where we live now. But that same week, I remember you were helping us broker that deal. And then you were like, so shall we talk about working together? And I was like, sure. So I kind of jumped on board right as I was like, a client. And so I had this firsthand experience with Value Nation that lent to its credibility for me. And I was like, yeah, I can work for this company. I believe in this. This model works. I mean, we saved over $13,000 on our transactions. And I was like, more people need to do this. Yeah. So it was easy for me to jump on board with Andy, and he's great to work with. And we have a lot of, good banter, I guess you could call it, or whatever between us. We work together well. And so, it's been fun.
That's awesome. Good stuff. So did you go to school at all?
I don't have a real estate license, but I have a degree in communications. I studied broadcast journalism at BYU, and so some of my degree had to do with, social media. It was new at the time.
Is that where you learned social media marketing?
Yeah, actually, yeah. So I worked at Channel 5 for an internship, and that was when Twitter was like just barely kind of on the scene. And this girl I worked with doing web stuff was like, you need to be on Twitter. And I was like, what is it? And she like got me on there, and I was like, I still don't get this, but it's so cool. But yeah, so I kind of got familiar with that. I was already on Facebook, and then Instagram was rolled out with the smartphone, and the whole idea of like just posting pictures with captions, and of course they figured out how to monetize it real fast, and then people were like, how can we use this to market? You know, so it kind of just like picked up where it left off for me. But yeah, that's my background.
Cool. You remember the first time you heard somebody say tweet? I tweeted that. Like, it was the dumbest thing in the world. This thing's never going to take off.
I thought it was so stupid when I first heard
I was pretty young, but I was like, what is a tweet? Like, what are you tweeting about?
Yeah.
It was a weird thing.
It was, but now it's just like, I don't know, everybody's on Twitter,
so
I was kind of like right at the beginning of social media, like as I was coming out of college. It was just kind of the thing. It was before influencers, before really internet marketing existed in that form, personal marketing based on algorithms and things like that. So it's been really fun to kind of see that grow and change and kind of learn how to play the game, so to speak. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like that with all social media platforms. When they first come out, everyone's just like, what the heck is this? Like, this is so stupid. I remember thinking the same thing about Instagram and Facebook.
Well, now TikTok's out.
What about Snap? It's like, we don't need another platform.
I
know, and then everybody's on it.
But the first ones that jump on are always the best. So.
It's so true. Yeah, got to be an early adopter, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
And then what about you? What did you go to school for?
So I went to, when I was going to ASU, I went for just business management.
Okay.
That was just the main thing. I just wanted to be a businessman. And then it was actually, I didn't know it was going to be real estate. That's just where it went.
So no specific plans when you were going to college?
No, not really. I just wanted to retire by 35.
Yeah.
Too late.
How'd you land that DJ job?
Yeah, I'm super interested to hear about that.
Yeah. So when I was, I was just out of high school, and somebody just said, like, hey, you should get into radio. Everybody said, hey, you got a voice for radio. They used to tell me I had a face for radio, which was a little different. But so I just kind of happened to get lucky to where I knew the people that were putting on the Gilbert Days parade. And I said, hey, is there any way I could like announce it or something like that? And they said, well, yeah, kind of. So they put me next to some announcers that I would help spot the floats coming down the thing. Yeah. And so they worked for, one of them worked for KNIX, one of them worked for KCWW, which was on the AM dial. And they just, we enjoyed working together. They got me a job in promotions. And so I worked a job in promotions, handing out T-shirts and driving Tiny. You remember Tiny, the big KNIX truck? Of course you don't.
Oh.
With the horns on the front?
My mom was really big into KNIX back in the day. So yeah, I know. Yeah,
there you go.
I know all that stuff.
So I drove, the big fun van around, and I drove Tiny around and handed out T-shirts and set up the remote broadcasts and stuff like that. And of course, I wanted to be on the air. And it was one of those things where I asked the program director at the time, I was like, how do I get on the air? Like, how do I do this? And he said, well, what you do is you go into a small market and you work for 10 years and then you give me a call and then you get on KNIX, because that's kind of how it's supposed to work. Because everybody on KNIX had been in the industry for years. Yeah. And so, but so finally I convinced him to let me try out overnight for like 2 hours, at like from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning, just practicing, just trying it out. And so he let me do it. And then they're like, oh, it's not so bad. Well, why don't we give you a Saturday from, right after the country countdown from 10 to midnight, you can do that shift, And so then I started just doing that. So it started out in production of the countdown show, and then it went on to on air. And then it just kind of just snowballed from there, where it just turned out to, one day I went in there to see if there's anything else I can do. And the program director, his name is George King, he put down the phone and he looked up and he said, hey, you want the 7 to midnight spot?
Oh, wow.
and it was because, some things were changing around.
Yeah.
The midday person was going somewhere else, so they put the evening person in the midday, and I happened to be at the right place at the right time and doing a decent job, and so they gave me the 7 to midnight job, and
that's sweet.
It was awesome.
It sounds like the whole job, like you were kind of there, right place, right time.
Yeah. It was totally, it's,
out.
that's what, so many people say the key to success is just showing up, or at least a big percentage of it. So many people don't submit the application, don't make the phone call, don't ask the questions, don't do the research on how to get whatever it is they want.
Right.
But there's always a few people who will. And those are the people who get it. And everybody else just goes, I wonder how that works. I wonder how you do that. And it's really just showing up.
Yeah.
And you show up and you show up and you show up. And after a while, people are going to be like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fine, you can do it because I don't have anybody else.
Yeah.
So did you love doing that? Did you love being in the whole radio
Yeah,
scene?
it was all right. At first it's amazing, but after a while, it's interesting because you are on the radio and you're doing personal appearances and stuff like that, but it's a job.
Yeah.
And, for 5 hours every night, I was playing the same songs over and over. And, and I love them. Trust me, I love them. But talking to the same groupies every night on the phone, every night, the same ones. After 20 years later, I still have some of them messaging me on Facebook. And, they're great. I love them,
Yeah.
But it's like the same thing every single night, just... And so anyway, and so I was kind of getting tired of that at the same time that I was deciding to, I was really kind of getting religion in my life, and decided to go on a mission. And so that's kind of how that all came to an end. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were done with any sort of radio stuff once you got...
Yeah, when I got home, I was on Mix 96.9 and KNIX. Actually, interestingly, sometimes I was on at the same time.
Oh, wow.
because voice tracking had become this big thing while I was gone. And so I came home and I'd record on one station and then drive over to the other station and work on that one. And I was Cooper on one and I was Andy Cooper on the other, and nobody ever put it together because the music genres are so different.
Plus, he could change his voice for country versus pop radio.
So it was kind of fun, but I was really just doing that while I was finishing up my bachelor's degree at ASU.
Okay.
And then once I knew that at that time I needed to get serious, because radio is one of those jobs where it doesn't pay a ton. And if you got a morning show and it's nationally syndicated, obviously it pays a lot. But if you're just like the 7 to midnight guy, you're not making a lot of money.
Right.
And so you kind of, and it's one of those jobs that if your ratings are down or if management changes, it's really easy to get fired. So they move around a lot from radio station to radio station. They're always moving. And so, it was that time that, I'd also met my wife, and it was like time to get a real job.
Yeah.
And so that's when I got into commercial real estate.
So it was an easy transition then to go from radio over to real estate. You're kind of ready for something now?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Why did you start in commercial real estate?
So I started in commercial real estate because it just, I really liked the idea of just bigger buildings and bigger stuff. And I wanted to build bigger buildings. It's funny because I haven't gone in that direction at all, to where, I'm not a developer or anything like that. Yeah. But that was the goal in the beginning, is I wanted to own big buildings, even skyscrapers and things like that. That was the dream in the very beginning. And so I thought, commercial real estate's the way to go. I'd always heard, that there was a lot more money in it, and my dad was the town manager of Gilbert the whole time I was growing up, And so he knew a lot of commercial developers and was able to get me interviews and things like that at some of the bigger commercial real estate houses and stuff. So ended up going that way. Kind of chasing the money, I think.
Yeah.
So it was more of a money thing. You didn't necessarily enjoy it as much?
No, I liked it. I also, one thing I guess that I didn't say is one thing I liked about commercial over residential was how it's more based on numbers rather than emotions. Because sometimes, you go into a house with a couple and it's like the perfect house. It's everything. It meets, it checks all the boxes, and you walk in and one of them just says, I just don't feel it. It just doesn't feel right. And you're like, no, this is the house. After 90 houses, this is the house. And it's like, no, it just doesn't feel good. And you're just like, no. But, like with commercial real estate, it was
no one says about an industrial
Yeah,
warehouse.
exactly. Or it's like, or in retail, it's like, here's the traffic counts. You got 50,000 cars going by here every single day. Here's your monument sign. You've got this co-tenancy. You've got this much parking. You've got this great rent. Like, this is the deal. You're going to succeed. You're going to make money. And it doesn't matter if they feel bad about it or good about it. They're going to make money. So that, so that was part of the draw to it, was not having to deal with emotions so much.
Makes sense. So had you started Value Nation then before Jenna kind of came into the picture?
Yeah. So just barely though.
Okay.
We had just so to give you an idea of how Value Nation started. It was not too long. So okay. So the reason why I'm like stalling here is because there's a bunch of little things in between. Because when I was in commercial real estate, I also ended up buying, with my brother and my dad, some franchises of some of the clients that we were representing.
Oh, really?
We bought, a couple of locations for The Joint, the chiropractic place.
Oh, yeah.
We bought this medical weight loss place, and so we were doing that. And then I got into voiceover because I missed the radio stuff. I missed being on the mic. So, by the way, this is the best moment of my day right now because I'm talking into a microphone.
It's right up there.
But so I kind of missed that kind of stuff, and so I built a little studio in my house, and I started doing voiceovers. And then we sold those businesses, got into voiceover full time. I've done probably 1,600 commercials in the last 5 years.
Really?
Yeah, and so
that's sweet.
So I was doing that, had no plans to get back into real estate at all.
Okay.
But then my wife and I decided to move.
Yeah.
And when we decided to move, I was faced with the same problem, the same question that people are every time they move. And they say, and so we looked at our house and how much it was going to cost to sell our house. And I realized that I was going to pay an agent that represented me, just the one representing me, $15,000 to sell my house. Because that's the quote-unquote going rate is 3%. And so $15,000 to sell my house, I was like, I'm not going to pay somebody $15,000 to send emails back and forth for a couple of months. No way. I have a real estate license, and although that wasn't my forte, I was a commercial guy.
Yeah.
Commercial transactions are much more complicated. I was like, yeah, no, I can totally do this. And so, I went and signed up for the MLS and everything, put my house on the market, and within a day, it sold, and within 30 days, it was, escrow was done, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just saved so much money by doing it myself. And not everybody's set up to do it themselves. Not everybody has the background and that sort of thing. But I was like, there's a business model here. There's no way that there's $15,000 worth of value that is created in what I just did.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm going to create a way to do everything that we just did very inexpensively, super efficiently, and do it for a flat fee, like a low flat fee, not $15,000, but $3,000.
Yeah.
And the reason why flat is important is because that house that we sold was, around $500,000 or something like that. But it was the same as selling a $3,000.
Right. Yeah. It's not punishing someone for having a bigger home.
$700,000 house, $900,000 house. It's the same transaction.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little bit harder to market the more expensive homes, but really it's almost exactly the same amount of work. Yeah. So what's the point of doing it on a percentage scale? And so that's where it was all just like, okay, you know what? I had no plans on getting into residential real estate, but I have to.
Yeah.
It's like, now I'm on a mission. Now I'm on a mission to change the industry. I'm on a mission to to make it easy for everybody else to sell their house for way less money so that they can keep their equity. You know, I'm not the one making their payments for years at a time.
Yeah.
You know, they're the ones making their payments. Let them keep the equity.
Right.
And so because it's because you know, $3,000 is still a lot of money. If you do it at volume, we still do okay. So we do okay. The sellers do okay. You know, everybody's doing okay. It's just there's not as much fat cutting that out.
Yeah. So I was going to ask that. So even though you're selling for less, or you're making less on each transaction, are you getting enough volume and enough deals because of your price that you're able to, you know, make ends meet?
Yeah, totally. And that's the great thing. I mean, imagine. So the normal situation for real estate agents is you do like maybe, you know, a deal a month or something like that. And so, and that's, you know, that's a successful agent, right?
Yeah.
So they're doing like a deal a month. Let's say they make 10 or 12 or 15 grand on that deal. And then they split a big chunk of it, you know, with their broker or whatever. But so that's kind of one model. But what if you could do 4 or 5 deals in that month? Because it's not like there's not enough time to do 4 or 5 deals in a month. They don't take that much time, especially if you're doing it efficiently. And so instead of doing 1 deal a month, let's do 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 deals a month, make the same or more money. And it's a little bit more work, yeah, but you're saving these people so much more money.
Right.
And the fact that you're saving them so much more money, word gets out.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to pay as much for marketing.
For sure.
Like people come to you because they're like, oh my gosh, that's a deal.
Yeah.
So that's a marketing technique then on your side of things.
Yeah,
right?
so it made it super appealing for me to jump on board because I was like, marketing can be very easy if you're selling a product you believe in and a product that's worth selling, right? Then your job's pretty much taken care of. It's just a matter of putting a bow on it, right? And putting it out there. And I see this model and I'm like, this is brilliant. And I'd been a participant, you know, I was a client. My husband and I bought and sold a home with Andy and we saved so much that we were like, this makes sense. You know, everyone should be doing it this way. And so that made my job very appealing. And also just the brand. Like, he'd already kind of established a brand for the company. It was very fun. It was fresh. It was like right up my alley. So I was like, I'm not going to have to pretend or like put on a, you know, special hat to do this job. I can just kind of like be myself. Like, the tone is really conversational and it's going to be really easy to market this already great business model with this great brand, and we'll just take it to the next level.
She did too. She beautified it.
In what way? Can you kind of explain like what you did to kind of elevate the brand and the marketing?
Yeah, so I kind of walked into, you know, a platform already existing for different socials. So we had a Facebook page, we had an Instagram and a Twitter, and we have a LinkedIn. And it was kind of like, okay, in my experience, branding is all about what do you want to say about your company through a visual medium, really. Yeah. I mean, especially on social media, people are going to look, right? And so it's all about what kind of persona your brand has. And so I kind of went in and decided, well, he kind of decided already. There was a logo established, there were colors, and so it was like, this is kind of what I'm going for, and here you go, like, see what you can do. And at first there were like some risks that I had to like take and see how it would go, and then it was
she used pink very early. That was a big risk.
So Andy tells me one day, he's like, I uploaded some new logos and some of them have pink in them, and I was like, really? And then I just kind of like went
she was
crazy.
So excited.
Pink is so great on social media. It just like pops out and people get really excited.
Because a couple of years ago, and it's still kind of in, but a couple of years ago, gradients were the thing, right? In graphic design, you know, like, you know, Instagram went with a gradient logo. Everybody was doing these rainbow gradients, and so I did a Value Nation logo that was rainbow gradients. That just like opened up a new world for Jenna.
It did. So now, if you look at our platforms, there's some usage of the pink. It's more of like a tertiary color, not even secondary. But our Value Nation blue, you know, that made sense to me. Blue communicates a certain persona about a brand, that it's trustworthy, and that was kind of our thing. Was like, people do ask like, well, what's the catch? You know, you're selling a home for $3,000. What's the catch? We want them to know that they can trust us. And so our brand is all about that. It's about, we're your friend. We want to help you find your dream home. We want to help you save tons when you're selling. And we also do offer a rebate for buyers. So we help save money on both ends. Yeah. Wow. And so I kind of, that's kind of my that's like the base. Whenever I'm about to design something or write copy for a caption or whatever, it's okay, what's the bottom line? What does the client want to know? They want to know how they're saving money and how we're doing it for them. And so another thing that's kind of cool that we offer for our clients is that I will market their listing for them. So of course, it goes on the MLS where everyone can see it, but we also put it on all of our social channels.
Okay, so you market on social media.
Yeah, and when somebody lists their home, they often want to share it with their neighbors and friends, just in case they have a buyer that they might know. And they want to be able to do that, but they often don't know where to start. They don't know how to get the pictures from the listing, onto their phone or whatever, and they're confused, and they don't know what to say, and we just do it all for them. And then they can share it, and they can say, hey, look at my house, it's on the market. Come and look if you want to see it. So we do offer that, and we take it through every step of escrow. We publicize its listing, and then when it goes under contract, and then when it closes as well. So so they're getting a really full marketing package as well as the traditional services that are offered.
Have you seen much success with that, with marketing their home through social media?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it all started with my house. I mean, the house that I originally sold, just that kind of was the the catalyst to all of this. It sold to somebody who shared, I shared it online, and somebody in my neighborhood shared it with their friend, and they ended up buying the house. That kind of stuff happens a lot. I mean, it's the MLS is, and a lot of realtors won't tell you this, but because a lot of realtors like to talk about like how their marketing is what really does it. But let me just be honest, like the MLS has more marketing power than anything. We could spend millions marketing a house and it wouldn't do what the MLS does, because the MLS is exactly, first it syndicates the listing to, Zillow and Trulia and Redfin and every other website that everybody's on, all the websites that all of the realtors use, and of course it's on the MLS where the realtors are searching. So that's the biggest thing. So that's the biggest thing. But having all of these different things that we do, like the different social posting and the email marketing that we do. What we do is we send all of that traffic back to, and I know this sounds dumb and because it's not good for our company, but we don't care as much about our company when it comes to selling homes. In our marketing, we want the seller to sell their home, right? We want our clients to sell their home. So we send all that traffic to Zillow, because when we send it to Zillow sees, their algorithm sees it as a hot home, and then Zillow sends it out to a lot more people. So instead of sending this stuff back to our site, we send it to Zillow, and it really, and so it's us putting it on our social. We ask everybody that we know to share it, and then and so when they get a bunch of shares, it helps push everybody to Zillow to trip that algorithm, and then of course we send out emails, and we're doing a whole bunch of different things. We're all trying to really just get these big platforms that have way more marketing reach than we do for them to do the work.
So that's how the social media marketing comes into play. The link that people are clicking on to look at that home is going to Zillow.
It helps the traffic.
Yeah, and it seems counterintuitive because we actually have all of our homes listed on our website. They can see what our listings are. They can even look at the MLS, but that doesn't help our bottom line, which is to get that home sold.
For sure.
So the main goal was that to help your customer then?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's always, happy customers bring more customers, and so although we could use the stuff for marketing, we would rather, and that's another thing too, is a lot of real estate agents spend a lot of money marketing themselves around neighborhoods where we would rather market the homes around the neighborhoods, because that kind of stuff ends up paying off in multiple ways.
So tell me about, I guess, the different roles that the two of you hold within the business. Is it like marketing and sales, or how do you guys differentiate your roles?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I am, as any, small business owner or entrepreneur, like I wear a lot of hats,
For sure,
And so my day is, we do have other realtors who work at Value Nation. And so, but it's so hard because so many of the contacts that come in are personal friends of mine and things like that. And so a lot of times it's hard to just kind of push them off onto other realtors that work for us. But one of my main goals throughout every single day is to do as little as possible on the real estate transactions so that I can work on the business as much as possible. It's really, that's the hardest thing. It's, it's one of the kind of main issues that almost all entrepreneurs have is it's like founder syndrome, where we can't step away. We have to touch every little piece of it. And so that's one of the big goals I have every day is like do less real estate, even though that's my thing and I love it, is do less of it. But, helping a little bit with marketing, of course, doing real estate deals takes up most of my day. But then the thing that is probably the most intriguing to me and the thing that I work on maybe second most throughout the day is process engineering, because that's how you get efficient. That's how we're able to offer such low fee is because we're so efficient. And the only way we can be so efficient is by always working on the processes and always making sure that when this certain thing and this transaction happens, that sets off this, and then that person already knows, our transaction coordinator already knows that she needs to be doing that.
I get emails saying like what my next step is, we do communicate very efficiently. And it's a process to learn how to do it best, and we use project management software to do that, to facilitate that. And but it does, the process makes the job, the little things are just, they're just taken care of, and then you can focus more on the big picture on how to grow the company and how to improve, get better. So to answer the question, I would say my number one thing throughout the day is real estate, then it's working on processes, and then it's working on sales, listing meetings and stuff like that. So that's pretty much my main job, I'd say. Yeah, so I manage all of the marketing under Andy's direction. So we collaborate often. We meet together. We talk about strategy, talk about projects coming up, things that people we need to meet with, connections that we need to make. And then my day-to-day is there's always something to put on social. So that's kind of like just programmed into my day. There's always something to share. You've got to be consistent with that. That's how you get the algorithms to work in your favor. So I'm doing a lot of graphic design, just social engagement. I'm going around liking people's stuff and commenting and follows, unfollows, all that stuff. And that's just baseline day to day. There's also there's email campaigns that I work on. We have a website, so I do some of the maintenance of that, uploading new testimonials so that there's always fresh reviews for people to look at. And just, anything that kind of has to do with marketing. Sometimes Andy will be like, hey, can you put together a video? Or he'll send me stuff and be like, do something with this, it doesn't matter really what it is. Or we'll have an open house, and so I'll make a flyer for it. So I'm kind of just on hand to do all of that stuff. But as we were talking about, I want to be able to do less as well. So we're growing, and we're talking, we need to hire someone to do this little stuff so that I can focus on bigger things and be more his right-hand girl, instead of trying to figure out how to do all that stuff. So we're kind of getting to that point, where we're outgrowing our space, and we're
That's
we
awesome.
got to figure out how to expand.
It's a good problem to have, right?
It is a good problem to have.
But I will tell you one thing, the biggest goal that I've had for her for the last 6 months, I said, get us on Local Hustlers podcast.
Oh, there you go.
That's what we want. That's what's going to do it for us right there. And
you guys are about to explode.
She made it happen.
Get ready for all this.
This is the
all
breaking
business.
point.
Well, no, I learned of your podcast, and I was like, we totally fit this. We need to be on this show.
It's such a cool idea. This is a great podcast.
We are local, and we're cool. We have a business model that's different, we're not just any old real estate agency.
Okay, so question on marketing. Do you post different content on different social media platforms, or is it usually kind of the same thing on each platform?
It's usually kind of the same. I find that the audiences don't overlap a whole lot, especially ours.
With real estate.
Yeah, but when it comes to Instagram, there's an aesthetic there, right? You log in, you look at somebody's feed, you see these beautiful, pictures, and sometimes they're color coordinated. I've seen some where they have their pictures almost like a gradient, where as you scroll, it changes color. Some people will do a collage within the feed grid. It's really cool. And so I don't always share what I share on Facebook necessarily to Instagram or vice versa. And there are different optimized, content types for different social platforms, but there is a lot of overlap, and it just, it makes sense. We want our message to get out, and if our audiences don't overlap, we want everyone to see what we're saying. Yeah. So
And sometimes we'll use some of that social media content in email marketing too, or drip campaigns or just one-off emails. But a lot of times email, lends itself to a totally different, different voice, where, like for instance, with the whole COVID thing, we haven't been talking very much about it on social, but it is a good, email is a great place to really give market updates and be like, okay, here's what we're seeing every single day, day in, day out. This is how many sales we're having compared to this is how many sales we were having a month ago, so it's like, it's much easier to do that sort of stuff on email than it is, elsewhere.
Why? What makes something more marketable on email versus on social?
I think it's really, social is people are just flicking. They look at something and boom, it's gone. They look at something, it's gone. So it's got to pop.
No attention span.
Yeah, exactly. We all know how we do it. We're just looking and we see something pretty, we stop, we read it, and we hope that it's short enough and poppy enough to make some sort of impression. We're not going to grab their attention. They're not going to read this, this soliloquy of anything. They're just going to look at it and keep on moving, and hopefully we make an impression. With email, if somebody opens it and you've got their attention, they might sit there and actually read a market update on what's going on with COVID. Or here are 6 steps to know that you're ready to buy a house. So like kind of your normal blog content. A lot of our blog content we'll put in an email. Okay. And, just like these little lists of tips and stuff like that you could make into an infographic to make a decent piece of Instagram content. But for like the good version of it, you'd put it on email.
Yeah, and it does depend on the audience too. People who are checking their emails regularly and actually opening them are going to be the type of people who are going to want something kind of meaty, but the people who are on social media need something quick, something that's fast food, So that's kind of what we do have to alter the voice a little bit, for the type of content for the audience, and we definitely do that.
Yeah. That's cool to hear, because a lot of people say that email marketing is kind of dead and oversaturated, but it just kind of depends on how you're portraying it and just making sure it's different than what you're putting on social media.
Yeah, and it's all in the subject line. If they see how's the market, has COVID affected real estate, they're gonna be like, is it? Like, should I know this? Oh, maybe I should listen to the expert and see what they say.
And also email people, and not that there's definitely a lot of overlap in people who use Instagram and people who email. But there are people who are email people, and I'm thinking like the older generation.
Yeah.
Right.
And they don't go on social media,
Right.
And so email is their thing. And so we reach, and interestingly, this is something that surprised me. When we first started this business, I thought, who's going to be our target customer? It's going to be millennials. It's going to be the smart, savvy young people who want it the new way and don't want to do what their parents did, that sort of thing. Turns out millennials are scared. Turns out millennials are like, wait a second, I don't know how to buy a house. I'm not going to do this newfangled way of doing it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What's the catch? Like, I'll just do what my dad did, or I'm going to go with my sister-in-law, who I know is a realtor, and she'll take care of me. And so what we found is that most of our customers are the people who've sold, 1, 2, 3 houses throughout their life already, and realized the value that they were getting for their $15,000 in commission was a lot lower than they thought it was, and so they're like, okay, well, these guys are just gonna market my house, put on the MLS, do a few things and send some emails around for a couple months. I don't want to pay anybody that much for it. You can imagine these older guys saying that, and so it turns out. And so those are, the people that are reading emails and stuff like that.
Yeah, you just have different crowds, and people are like, oh, well, the new generation wants this. Well, it's like, well, there's still an older generation. Like
exactly, and they still buy and sell homes.
Yeah.
So we do keep that in mind. That our audience is very wide.
Our younger demographic clients, they come through referrals.
Okay.
And our older demographic clients, they don't mind coming in the back door. They just see a deal and they're like, yeah, totally. I'm not going to pay that much for that.
So how do you get over that hurdle for people that think that they might not be getting as much since they're paying less?
That's what's the funny thing is our biggest competitor, I feel, isn't other realtors. our biggest competitor is doubt. Like, people just look at it and go, really? $3,000?
Yeah.
That's too good to be true. We hear that a lot. Like, really? Are you really going to do what everybody else does? And that's the funny thing. We do everything that every other realtor does and more because we feel like, we know, for instance, tech a little bit better than a lot of realtors do. And so we feel like we can do even more than a lot can. But yeah, we do it for a heck of a lot less. And so the question is a brilliant question. We're still trying to figure out is how do you convince people that it's not too good to be true?
Yeah. The angle that I have kind of taken is to rely a lot on testimonials and referrals, say, these direct
social
quotes
proof,
from
right?
people, who've
sure.
used us and have said, this was amazing. This transaction went flawlessly. Not only does it speak to Andy's ability to execute a transaction with ease
or Aubrey's or Christie's or any of our
agents, right? But it also says, look, you're getting all of that you would have gotten plus more for just $3,000. There really is no catch. And I often have to tell people that personally. People will come to me and be like, look, I want to sell my house and I know you work for this flat fee company and like, what's the catch? And I'm like, there's no catch. Here's Andy's email. Here's his cell phone. Text him. Email him right now. Like, there's no catch. I've used them, and we saved $13,000. And they're like, okay. That's kind of all it takes. And so the social proof really is key. It says more than anything. And I can get on there and show our homes and show what we do, day to day on social media. But at the end of the day, what sells them on our concept is it's worked for other people. So, yeah.
I mean, so, you look at our website, we always put up our reviews. We've every review we've ever had is 5-star. We put them up on the website. We always ask for clients reviews after the transaction's done. And whether it's Facebook or on Zillow or Yelp or Google or any of those platforms, we always ask for reviews and we think that helps. I hope it does.
Referrals too. Referrals definitely help, and we like to incentivize referrals. So anyone who gets us a meeting with a client, we will incentivize them with a gift card, $100 to Amazon. Cool. We've been sending out a lot of those lately because we've had a lot of referrals, and that's really how this business works. The clout kind of has to speak for you.
For sure. Yeah. Especially when everyone knows a realtor. Everyone knows someone.
That's our probably second biggest nemesis is, my mom's a realtor or my so-and-so that I know, my best friend from 3rd grade, like I have to use them, sorry. And we're like...
You know what we say to them? We say, all right, here's what you do. You got a sister who's a realtor. You take her down to the bank and you withdraw $1,000 and you just hand it to her. Here's $1,000. I'm going to use another realtor,
Exactly.
And then, it's going to confuse the heck out of her, but she's going to be pretty happy she has $1,000 in her hand. And then, guess what? You still save like $9,000.
That's good.
Yeah. So that's really true though. That's our second biggest competition is I already know someone. I don't want to hurt their feelings, kind of thing. So,
like, how bad do you not want to hurt their feelings? $10,000 worth?
Yeah. I know, right? So funny.
Do you guys feel like this is going to become sort of a new norm with real estate in terms of just offering a flat fee rather than a percentage?
I think so. I don't see why it wouldn't. And it's not like we're the only ones doing it. I mean, there's hundreds of millions of dollars of venture capital out there that's funding companies like this around the country. There are some big names all around that are starting to get in on this game. And so it seems that, what's the alternative if those guys and us, if we keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, what's the alternative? The people who are charging more, they either have to charge less or they have to up their service level.
Right.
So, there's only so much you can do service-wise to sell a house. You sell the house. And so anyway, at some point, I don't know if it'll ever always be flat, but it seems like the percentages will have to come down at some point, which, by the way, I think is good for the industry and even good for realtors because, yes, they'll have to do more work and they'll have to do more deals. But one of the reasons why it's so hard to get deals for a lot of these realtors is because there's too many realtors out there. And why are there too many realtors out there? Because it's too easy to make money. There's, all you have to do is spend a couple of weeks in a real estate class. And then all of a sudden you do 2 deals a year and you made an extra 20, 30 grand.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you're making, you do 3 deals and you're making what a teacher makes.
Yeah.
Like, that's easy. Everybody knows 3 people that will let them sell a house. So of course, that's why everybody's sister is a realtor and everybody's brother's a realtor.
Yeah.
Precisely.
My dog is a realtor. I had to put her in the backyard.
That's funny.
Did you get any like backlash from other realtors or people that aren't a fan of you doing this?
Yeah.
A little bit, not as much as I expected though.
It's not like personal. It's people who see our pages, and think they have
like comments and stuff.
Yeah,
online.
they'll be like, "This is a scam," and we're like, "Come on,"
In fact, that's our only bad review in all of in all of Reviewdom is on Facebook. There's some realtor that I've obviously never met, and he was, he just didn't like the way we did business, so he gave us a bad review.
Yeah,
But
that kept me up at night for a long time. Actually, I was like, "How can I get rid of this?"
I tried
review?
to reason with them. I was like, "Come on, man,
Take it down."
Yeah,
He
come
wouldn't.
on. It's just our only bad review,
Yeah.
No, it's I don't know. I think that here's the thing. What's interesting is realtors. I mean, there's all types, obviously, like any business. There's all types of realtors, but for the most part, they're all just good, entrepreneurial type people too. And once we work with them, most realtors have no idea what my business model is, and we'll work with them and we'll complete a successful transaction and everybody's really friendly, and then they figure out, oh wow, oh he's a he's a flat fee guy. Oh, I guess they're not that bad after all, because we try to be really, really easy to deal with and fun to deal with, and we come from like a professional world, not kind of a people like dealing with us. We make sure of that.
Yes, they have their preconceived notions, but we prove them wrong, and that everyone's happy. So the goal is to get so many clients that Andy, Cooper, and Value Nation are just like the best people to work with, and so no one can really say anything bad, That's our goal.
Now, as like you said, obviously it's safe to say that people are going to start jumping into this more, the flat fee. As more realtors do, how are you going to be able to handle them, I guess?
It's more competition.
Yeah, more competition.
Yeah, it's a good question. So first off, there are 17,000 homes on the market right now in Phoenix.
Oh, wow.
Right? So there's a lot of room out there for a lot of people. So right now we are a drop in the bucket compared to the amount of homes that are sold out there. And so it's going to be a while before there's enough flat fee people out there to make it like sharks in the water or blood in the water or whatever. But that said, we definitely do have plans for the future to make things even cheaper. Or I should say less expensive. That's a nicer way to put it. But we definitely have a lot of plans in place to make things even more efficient, less expensive. I can foresee, I don't know how many years in the future it is, but I can foresee giving away the transaction and making money on other things surrounding the transaction.
Wow.
Because anytime you're in a price game, like if you're a cost leader, low cost leader, then it's, as they say, it's a race to the bottom, right? It's like, who can lower their price? Okay, then you got to lower your price. You got to lower your price. Yeah. So the key is to plan for that now. Find ways to make it so that even if you make no money, you're still making money. And so that's kind of that stuff that we have been thinking about since the very beginning.
That's super interesting.
And then I have a question about the pricing. So is there a limit you guys go to? You don't sell a house that's worth more than $700,000, or is it?
No, we have some million plus listings, and that's the thing too, is we love when those sell because they save so much.
It's great marketing.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just had one go under contract today that's over $1 million, and when it's when it closes rather, it's going to save so much money. And we're gonna be able to say 20 grand or whatever it ends up being, and it's gonna be fantastic for marketing. Plus, it just speaks to our brand. It doesn't matter how big your house is, it doesn't matter how expensive your house is. You're gonna pay $3,000 flat.
Awesome.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because it does take a little bit longer to sell a higher priced house. Yeah. Just the buyer pool is smaller, so it takes a little longer. It takes a little bit more work, but I'd say the payoff is that extra marketing that we can do. Like, look how much these people save. How much would you do with an extra, or how much could you do with an extra $30,000? Could you pay for a couple of years of college? Could you buy a sweet ride? You can do these types of things by selling with us. You know, and so that kind of marketing is worth a little bit of extra work to sell $1 million home for sure.
That's cool. Awesome. Do you spend more time cleaning your pool than you spend swimming in it? Then call Flamingo Pools today. Flamingo Pools is your go-to swimming pool maintenance and repair company in the East Valley. Whether it's weekly maintenance, repairs, green to cleans, or one-time cleanings, Flamingo Pools will take care of you. Honest, reliable, and innovative. Just a few of the many good things Flamingo Pools customers have to say about them. Ask them about their mineral treatment, which will keep your chemical levels down, allowing you to have a healthier bathing experience. At Flamingo Pools, they know that your pool was made to be enjoyed, so let them handle the rest. Check them out at azflamingopools.com or give them a call at 480-422-6013. Mention this podcast and you'll get your first month of maintenance completely free. That's azflamingopools.com and 480-422-6013.
So you mentioned you have a couple other realtors kind of under your umbrella of Value Nation. What's kind of the process of finding other realtors and making sure they fit, I guess, the mold and what you need?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good question. And I mean, you hit it before in your question is almost the answer, where it's finding the right people that have the right mentality, and it's not just one type of person. For instance, I'll take two agents who are like polar opposites that work for us. One is a brand new agent. We sold her house and helped her buy another house, and she liked the experience so much that she came to work for us as an agent, kind of like Jenna, right?
Yeah.
And so this is Aubrey, and she's amazing, and she liked the experience, and she said, I want to be a realtor, and I'd love to work for you guys. And so she became a realtor. We helped her through school, and we trained her and all that stuff. And so she's brand new on the brand new end. But she's smart as a whip. Everything is assimilated immediately. She's just super smart, and so that's one end of it. And then we have Christy. Now Christy has been in the real estate business for 40 years. Oh, wow. She owned her own brokerage, and she just dismantled her brokerage to come work for Value Nation because she's on the other end where she's kind of done doing everything.
Right.
That's the thing that we offer to realtors. It's because we don't operate like the normal brokerage where it's like, if normal realtors are generally they're the accounting person, they're the marketing person, they're the salesperson, they're the negotiator, they're the paperwork person. They do everything, and that's maybe that's why they charge so much. I don't know, because it's a lot of work, right? And so, but the way we run things is we like our realtors to just do their job, just be a realtor. Just sell the house. We'll handle the marketing. We'll handle the accounting. We'll handle all the stuff, all the business running stuff. Just be the realtor and do your job. And you know what? Past this certain time of day, there's another realtor that can handle the stuff. You're not sending 10 o'clock texts like most realtors are out there doing, because we set it up so that people work in shifts, and that it's like an actual lifestyle job where you can come to work, you can clock out, or you know what I mean. You can leave, and you're kind of done for the day. And so what we get with that is we don't get the realtors who want to come in and be their own boss and make $200,000 a year. That sort of realtor. We get the people who are more like normal customer service oriented people who just want to make an honest wage and give great customer service and be knowledgeable about the transaction. And that's and of course those are the people that are drinking the Value Nation Kool-Aid,
Well, and it benefits our clients too, because it really truly is full service real estate. There's always an agent who can take that transaction and pick up where the other agent left off at any time, and there's somebody doing their marketing for them, and there's someone handling their transactions, and so they really they really are getting the full experience.
Yeah.
Whereas if one person's doing all of that, things fall through the cracks.
For sure. Yeah, I'm sure they're just able to focus on the job when they're not having to deal with all the back end stuff too, right? With all the
Exactly.
accounting and all that.
Yeah, they don't have to do my job for me,
Yeah.
but normally an agent would have to run
Right.
an Instagram and try to like promote themselves and hire a photographer to take their pictures.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just like who has the time, right? You
Uh-huh.
know, so this works so much better for everybody.
For sure. I'm curious, does it cause any like communication errors since you have different agents working on the same property at different times?
Yeah, you know, I mean, just as much as it would, and it's like any company, you know, it's one of those things where, I mean, it's not to an abnormal amount. Like
Yeah.
sometimes one person will send an email, you know, a client will send an email and then somebody will respond to it and then the other person will respond to it too accidentally because they didn't see. It's just that kind of normal stuff.
Right.
So anytime you get multiple people involved in a
not
transaction,
perfect.
because we'll have a couple of realtors involved, we'll have a transaction coordinator involved. And so we like to really kind of double and triple team transactions so that people get the very best service possible. And so every once in a while, yeah, you'll get somebody who, you know, we over respond, but we never under respond.
Yeah,
That's good. Yeah,
So-
I guess it's a good problem.
it is,
Good problem to
and
have.
it's you know, it's like Andy was saying, processes, you know,
Yeah.
and it's a new process that we every time we add someone new, they have to, you know, learn it and figure it out, and it takes a little bit of time, and we're patient. We just, you know, understand we're all human, but it works out better in the end just because there's all hands are on deck, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, you mentioned process a couple of times, so I kind of wanted to touch on that.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips or ideas for like an entrepreneur who's either starting a business or hiring employees? How do you figure out, you know, the best, most efficient processes for your business?
That's a good question. So one thing that the good news is I have a wife who is also an entrepreneur, and she owns, she and a couple other guys own this big medical kind of accounts receivable, debt collections, you know, revenue cycle management company. And so, they've owned it for, 10, 12 years,
Yeah.
something like that. And so, and it's grown, it's huge. So I get to bounce my stuff off of her, you know, and one of the things that she always says is write everything down. Everything that you do throughout the day. I know it seems tedious and it's something that you do. And of course, everybody, you know, it's obvious, write it down. And that's how it becomes a process. Because once you write it down, then you realize if it's good or not, if it's something that's efficient or not.
Yeah.
Then it's transferable. And then when you give it to somebody else to do that same thing, then they look at it and they go, no, that doesn't make sense. And so you either have to write it better or you have to come up with a better process so that they understand it. And then once you have a team of people working on processes like that,
Yeah.
then they just get better and better because you have multiple inputs. You know, we have, just today, I have a transaction coordinator who's pretty new, and she called me and said, well, why don't we do this step of the transaction like this? And I was like, oh, yeah, that's totally right. You know, that's the way to do it. It makes way more sense.
Yeah.
And, the reason I think why she was able to look at the process differently was because she is new. And she hasn't done it 100 times, whereas I've done it this way. This is how we do it, you know? And so so I guess the answer, that I would say is writing things down and then sharing them with people and then letting those people beat up your processes until it molds into something that works for everybody.
So it takes humility too, not being like, oh, like I know what I'm doing. This is my business.
I am the humblest person ever.
No, absolutely. You have to be able to say, I don't know how to do this. And that's how you get better. If you
Nobody's more humble than me.
Oh,
Wait, just be quiet so I can talk about how humble I am.
Andy,
I wasn't done yet.
take it away. But seriously, though, I mean, that's the secret to successful entrepreneurship is just being willing to say, like, I have this idea, but I really don't know what to do, and getting the right. Surrounding yourself with people that make you look great. You know?
sure,
Don't be so arrogant that you think you are the star of the show. Your business is the star. What do you want to do to make it great? Surround yourself with great people. You will make a great product.
That's awesome.
That's good.
Jenna, touching on the social media thing one more time, what would your advice be for an entrepreneur or business owner? They're trying to market their business. Do you have any tips or tricks in terms of
Totally.
getting it out there?
So the first thing you need to do is you need to follow the accounts that you want to be like, and you need to copy them. The best marketers, the best of anything really, are great imitators. If you want to be great, you need to find someone that you admire and do what they do. And there's no secret, like you like it, you do it, and then you do it better. And then you network. You also want to network. You want to connect yourself to other people. It seems counterintuitive, like, oh, I don't want to, play with the enemy, but actually you do. They're not your enemy. They're your friend. You want to network. You want to associate, build those connections. That's how social media works. It's all about networking. So don't be afraid to follow somebody like who has the same business model as you. That's okay.
Yeah.
Like, you can learn from each other, and like you said, there's other ways to compete. Social media is not one of them. Don't fight on social media.
Yeah,
that's brilliant though. I mean, because if you think about it, that's any art form, right? Like if you want to have a great podcast, listen to the best podcasts and try to do exactly what they do. You're not going to be able to do it as well as they do, but that's okay. You're going to do it your own way, and then it's the more you emulate, the more you whether it's artwork or music, you find your favorite musician and you try to do exactly what they do. Once you're really good and you've got like the technical chops, then you can really just kind of do it your way. But at first, do it like the masters do, and then once you're good enough to know the rules, then you can break them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and when people fall in love with different people, so if you capture people's attention that like you, then you can take that ride.
They will come to you. Be authentic, but if you don't know where to start by emulating the people you admire the most, and so I follow a lot of accounts that just look stunning because they speak to me, they inspire me, they give me ideas, and it ultimately makes my game better.
Yeah, that's cool. Any mentors for either of you, books or podcasts or people you guys have looked up to that have kind of helped you in the business world?
Jeez, I'm like a kind of a podcast connoisseur and book connoisseur. I don't know, it's tough. I don't know. I eat it all up.
Yeah.
It's hard to even. Yeah. I should have thought about that before we got here.
Well, you always talk about how I built this. That's like your.
Oh, I do love how I built
this.
It's such a good podcast.
I love that one too. But
it is a good one.
Yeah.
I like Tim Ferriss, like everybody else.
Yes.
I was gonna say, great. So yeah, I kind of just try to consume a lot of media and to get inspired. But I really love Allison Faulkner Robinson. She's the Allison Show, and she's all about branding and just being so authentic to your brand, and I think it's just so cool. So she's probably my social media idol.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then I forgot to ask this earlier, but just with real estate in general, I guess, how would you get over the hurdle of someone who's wondering, why should I use a real estate agent in the first place? Like, why not just sell the house by yourself?
That's a good question. So, first off, I would just say go for it, because that's who I am, right? That's how I got into this business, was by doing it myself and going, wait a second, wow, that wasn't that bad, And so I respect that type of person, to do it yourself, kind of like, I love it. So it's like, if you think you've got the time and the energy and you want to put it up on Zillow and you're going to take the pictures and you're going to do it all, cool. That's awesome. So the I would say the two main reasons that you want to use a real estate agent in general, one would be the power of the MLS. I mean, like we were talking about earlier, the power of the MLS, there's no amount of marketing money that you can put into it that's going to do what the MLS does for you. And that's a little unfortunate because, I mean, I feel like it's like a monopoly, and I wish there weren't just one place to go to, to find real estate, but that's how it is in Arizona. So there's that. So the power of the internet. And then the other thing is, when you do get a contract, there's hundreds or thousands or something, some large number of pitfalls during the transaction that you can fall into if you don't know how to do the transaction. Because, our standard kind of boilerplate Arizona contract is about 9 pages of legalese. It's all very, it's really small type too.
Yeah.
And so there's so much in there that protects the buyer, that protects the seller, all these things that have been thought of and baked into that contract over the decades that it's been, formulated.
Yeah.
And so it's just having somebody that can walk you through that whole process. It's definitely worth it. It's especially if you're only paying $3,000, right? Yeah. And so first response is cool. More power to you. Go sell that house. But if you can't, we're your next best thing for sure.
Sweet. And then you talked about a broker earlier. What's the difference between a broker and a realtor, just for someone who?
Good question. So a broker is So what you see out there, most real estate companies, whether it's Keller Williams or Century 21 or whatever it is, or Gentry Real Estate, that's called a brokerage, and it usually houses a whole bunch of agents.
Okay.
And so if you have, and then inside that brokerage, there's a designated broker, and so the kind of the simplest way to say it is a broker is kind of the head of the shop, and then there's a whole bunch of agents within the shop. But you can get more confusing with it if you want, because you can have what they call associated brokers that are within the shop that really just act as regular agents, but they've been in the business long enough and taken the tests and the classes to become a broker.
Okay.
But really, the way you usually talk about it, if you're in the business, you'd say, my broker requires this.
Right.
And you're always talking about your designated broker.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah. And then to confuse things more, if you're in commercial real estate, they all refer, and this was me too, they all refer to themselves as brokers no matter what. You'd almost never say I'm a commercial real estate agent. You almost always say I'm a commercial real estate broker.
Okay.
I think it just makes you feel cool.
Yeah.
So they technically are agents then?
Yeah.
For
or they could have, if they've been in the business 3 years and taken the tests and all that kind of stuff, then they could be associate brokers. But most commercial real estate guys are just, agents, but call themselves brokers because they're agents of their brokerage. So, I mean, you kind of are in technical, like legal jargon.
Sweet.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well, before we get wrapping up here, we have a quick game we want to play with you guys.
Okay.
Nice.
Yay. I'm nervous now.
Yeah.
I wasn't nervous to talk about my business.
So the way that it goes is you guys have 60 seconds to answer as many questions as possible.
Okay.
They're just going to be quick fire, so just like one answer questions. Or one word answer, sorry.
Are we tag teaming this?
Yeah, so we'll just go back and forth and you guys just go back and forth on the answer.
Okay.
Oh.
You'll answer one question, you answer the next question.
Oh boy.
So yeah, like I said, you have 60 seconds. All right, we'll get started in 3,
Who's first?
2,
You go first.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Superpower you could have.
Invisibility.
Favorite junk food?
Doritos.
Music you turn on when nobody is around.
NPR.
If you were stuck on an island, what would you bring?
Water.
Favorite quote.
To be or not to be is the only one that comes to mind.
If you could have dinner with anyone in time, who would it be?
Ooh, that's such a hard one. The Backstreet Boys.
What's your spirit animal?
Oh, a dog. Yeah.
TV show you could binge watch.
Oh, Mad Men.
Best business book you've read.
Oh, see, you're getting me with that one again. Recently, one I've been liking is that kind of from a competitor. I wish I could call him a competitor, but it's called The One Thing. I just read it recently. It's by the guy who started Keller Williams, and it's great.
Okay. If you could swim in any liquid, what would it be?
Gold.
Oh, there we go.
I totally ruined it by giving this big long answer.
You guys were on a roll there.
And then I was like, well, let
was good.
me pontificate for a moment.
Everyone always just gives a big explanation on one. It's like, come on, you're missing.
Yeah. That was good.
How do we stack up, though?
You did pretty good.
It's almost like I
forgot
forgot the rules.
We did it out of
I was
order,
like,
but yeah, you guys we're in the process of putting together a rankings from
Okay.
top 5. So
Dang.
we'll see how you guys did and once we publish. But okay, guys, this has been super fun.
Yeah,
I
awesome.
know real estate kind of seems super boring to people when they just hear that word. It's just kind of a turn off. I know it has been for
Is
me in
it?
the past.
Oh, I thought it was sexy.
No, we're just super nerdy.
No, but I think it's actually super interesting, and just I think this interview has proven how interesting it can be, and the people behind it can be. So thanks for kind of sharing your stories, sharing what you guys do, especially with your model. I think it's a great thing, and we look forward to sharing this with the community and seeing what they think of it. So thanks for your
awesome.
time.
Yeah,
It's been a
thanks.
pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. It's fun.
Why don't you let people know before we close up here where they can find you guys?
Well, the website's just www.valuenation.com. I mean, that's really the best place to find us for sure.
It is.
I mean, Instagram.
We're
what's your
all
social
over
media?
social. Value Nation. There's an underscore in there, but just search, you'll find us. We're on Facebook too. Value Nation, Twitter, The Value Nation. So come and find us.
Okay, perfect.
Yep,
Awesome.
you heard it.
Okay, thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
See ya.